You probably haven't heard these songs in years, and in some cases, decades. And yet, the second they started playing, you knew exactly what they were, and an ever so tiny, or in my case quite large, spark in your soul, the very essence of who you are, reminded you of a pleasant memory. That, to me, that feeling right there is what makes video game music so fascinating. The game doesn't just sound good, it places you somewhere, it changes how you feel, it changes how you play. And somehow, years later, all of those feelings, you remember it as if it was yesterday. Now, I'm not saying I'm the final authority on the topic, or more qualified to talk about it than anyone else, but I have been to a Kingdom Hearts orchestra and I will be going to one again, so I care enough to have an opinion that I'd like to share with you. And once you really think about it, video game music or OSTs are doing way more work than people give them credit for. So in this video, I want to break down what actually makes video game music so iconic and so damn good. For the sake of structure, I'm splitting this video into 4 parts. Music that places you, music that prepares you, music that pushes you, and music that stays with you. And before I forget, when I say OST, I simply mean original soundtrack. It's basically music that is specifically made for the game. Key theme 1. Music that places you. Music that places you is such a vague and grandiose way of saying music that tells you what kind of environment you're in or will be in. The first thing any great game does is place you inside their world, not with visuals, as we already know that some start with black screens, but with sounds, and more importantly, music. Before you test out the game mechanics, before you know the story, before a character can tell us anything through dialogue, we, the player, are already making an educated guess based on the background music we hear, whether consciously or unconsciously. Is the world dangerous, expansive, joyful, lonely, triumphant? The best soundtracks can answer all of that before you've even had a chance to pick up the pad. And that's where atmosphere comes in. Atmospheric music is one of those things that people don't really notice until it's gone, and that's because when it works, it feels almost invisible. It just becomes part of the place. For example, the music that's been playing in the background of this video. But I think it's important that we don't just pigeonhole ourselves into this thinking that atmospheric music is something that plays in the background. It's also something that can be loud and bombastic. As long as it drags you into the world, then in my opinion, it's doing its job. For example, it can be used to fill in long empty stretches of travelling. I would play an example of this, but Bethesda will copyright me into oblivion, so take me singing over this track as a replacement. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart. Despite my awful singing, this actually makes the game feel post-apocalyptic because all the new music we enjoy today never had a chance to be made, so there's no Kendrick Lamar and there's no Frank Ocean. Another great example of this would be the GTA radio. I can't count the amount of times I was driving in a car and Smoking and Riding came on, which made me, probably a 13-year-old at the time, feel like I'm rich and unstoppable. The possibilities are truly never-ending. Wait, that's not what I meant. Fortunately for me, one of the best ways to prove this is actually really simple. Keep the footage the same, but change the music. Clip 1. This version feels exciting, energetic, almost like something big is about to happen. But let's compare that to clip 2. Now suddenly the exact same footage feels sad, reflective, or even tragic. Your brain knows what the appropriate sounds and music should be automatically. Nothing about the visuals changed, but the feeling did. The music decorates the world while allowing you to be appropriately immersed in that world. As you've seen, some can do this with OSTs to build the atmosphere from scratch, and some repurpose real-life songs to add to the narrative while giving the world a carefully curated identity. Either way, the music isn't random. It's one of the reasons why certain areas in games aren't just memorable visually, but also emotionally. And once the game has successfully dragged you into the world, it's time to prepare you for the challenge ahead.
What's that supposed to mean?
Key theme 2, music that prepares you. Now this could be a really controversial point, but personally, some of the most memorable music in gaming isn't the boss music. I know, but stay with me on this journey. It's the music before the action actually takes place. If you're watching this video, then I'm pretty sure you've heard one of the most iconic title screen songs of all time, and a personal favourite of mine, Kingdom Hearts' Dearly Beloved. And if you haven't, that's what's been playing in the background since the beginning of this section. It's so iconic that there are over 20 official versions of Dearly Beloved, and it's safe to say, without Yoko Shimomura and that song, this video might never have been created by me. But it's more than title screens, it's menu selection music, safe zones, hub worlds, but the thing that gets me the most excited is the character selection music. That's because the character selection music is the soundtrack of potential. Not Megami, potential. It's the exact moment the player is deciding what type of character and gamer they want to be. Basically, the game is telling you to think carefully and get ready, because this is the decision you're going to have to live with, and this is what gets me the most excited. Good character selection music can get your blood pumping while making picking a fighter seem like one of the most important decisions of your life. Me versus my brother, me versus my friend, the dishes are on the line, my pride is on the line. Who cares? This is what the last 33 seconds of my life since the PlayStation booted up have been building up to. The memories I have with character selection music is the anticipation before the match, the trash talking, the last second character changing to match your opponent. It's important because it turns choosing a character into an event. I mentioned before it's the soundtrack of potential, and that's due to the fact that the match hasn't started yet. The drama of the battle has yet to begin. This might be the very first time you beat someone you've never won against, and the music is the sound, the music of what could happen next. Character selection music is almost like its own subgenre, as although it has to take looping into consideration, something we'll discuss later on, it almost doesn't have to follow the pre-established rules that other OSTs need to, something else we'll discuss later on. Unlike the other types we've discussed so far, this particular subgenre isn't actually supposed to be listened to for extended periods of time, so it gives the creators more freedom to get right into the highs of the song. The music is exciting enough that it makes the moment feel important, but also controlled enough that if you're a more tactical person, it doesn't become annoying after the 2 to 3 minutes you need to choose your character. But the most important thing to take away from this section is that the character selection music is interesting as it builds the tension without actually resolving it. It's the musical equivalent of cracking your knuckles before a fight. The tension is there, but there's no release. And if the character selection music is the sound of possibility, then the next section is the sound of commitment. It's time to lock in. Key theme 3. Music that pushes you. Music that pushes you is the next logical step in the journey. It's the music that stops politely asking you to enjoy the journey and starts telling you it's time to lock in. It's time to scrap. This encompasses combat music, boss music, chase music, and essentially any song that raises your heart rate, dilates your pupils, and makes everything feel more serious. Yes, what makes them good is that they are fast, up-tempo, and loud. But what makes them great? Scratch that. What's needed to make them great is that they need to make you, the player, feel more capable than you have throughout the entire playthrough up until this point. The moments feel bigger. They make the fight seem more important. You feel alive as you jump over that obstacle at the right time. You sidestep and attack perfectly, and it almost becomes a dance, a salsa, a two-person tango, where you're not sure if it's you or the song that's leading. As long as it makes you feel like you're playing better, you will play better, and it creates a positive feedback loop. Because games are interactive, this aspect cannot be understated. It matters more than it would in a film or a TV show because those are meant to be passively consumed. But as gamers, As players, we aren't just watching someone else have a cool moment, we're the ones creating it, and the soundtrack is the trumpets of our success. It's why it feels so euphoric when the soundtrack kicks in at the exact right time, and the music and our actions create the definition of an entanglement. It's when you're tangled in the beat. I should have probably put a laugh track here. Expectedly, so many of these tracks work so great in real life. On a run, in the gym, studying hard, but personally I prefer to use it for physical activity. And this is because they recreate the feeling of playing the game, the focus, the adrenaline, and ideally the success, making you feel unstoppable in all aspects of life. And this isn't just a fancy metaphor either. I genuinely got my 25k PB time listening to the Sonic DJ party mix that I'll put up on screen, because I was genuinely out there rolling around at the speed of sound. Yeah, okay, that's the last singing you're going to hear from me in this video. But to spare you from my singing, it's time to move on to the penultimate section of this video. Key theme 4. Music that stays with you. Music that stays with you is music that you couldn't forget even if you wanted to. If video game music only worked in the moment, we probably wouldn't still remember it years later. And this is why I think the topic takes on its most interesting turn. Video game music and OSTs have a unique role in music where they aren't exactly traditional songs per se, as they almost are starting the process backwards. When a person is tasked with producing the music, they need to ask themselves, what is the music trying to say and how does it fit in with the narrative of the story? When the player is in the Station of Awakening for Kingdom Hearts or on the character selection theme, what should they be feeling? Anxious? Excited? Should the tension be rising? That's a literal name of a Kingdom Hearts song, by the way. Shout out to Yoko Shimomura again. But when you compare video game music to more traditional forms of music, one major difference becomes clear. Game composers are writing for a completely different kind of experience and under completely different conditions. A traditional artist usually releases music into the world knowing it can be listened to in almost any context, detached from any one specific moment. On a walk, in the car, at the gym, in the background, or with your full attention. The song exists as its own complete piece, and the listener chooses how, and more importantly, when to engage with it. Film and television composers work slightly differently, but they still have one major advantage. They know exactly how long a scene needs to last. They know when the moment begins, when it ends, how much the music needs to rise, fall, or resolve within that fixed time. Game composers aren't afforded this luxury because they aren't writing for the passive listener or a scene with a guaranteed duration. They're writing for a player whose actions control the pace of the experience, meaning the duration of the moment is never guaranteed. A level track might need to survive exploration, failure, and most importantly, the eventual success. So, the composers have the task of creating something really difficult. Music that loops, meaning it can be repeated for hours on end without being annoying. Music that keeps your focus. Music that can enhance the moment without overpowering it. Music that can be heard outside of the context of the game and still hold up. And most importantly, music that is just a straight up banger. And I think it's the combination of qualities that makes video game music such a unique art form, or in other words, so damn good. Our brains are wired to make associations and take shortcuts. That's why certain smells, tastes, or sounds can open a back door to the past almost instantly, like a meal that reminds you of childhood, or just like grandma used to make. And the same can be said for sounds. Video game music does this, and it does it oh so well. Music goes even deeper than that, because it taps into something instinctive and nurturing in us. There's a reason music is often used to calm people down, provide emotional support and well-being, and even in pregnancy and prenatal care, with studies suggesting that listening to music during that period can reduce anxiety and even improve sleep. Fun fact, did you know that music makes plants grow faster? Because I didn't. Composers are working with tempo, rhythm, pitch, harmony, and repetition in ways that can shape mood, energy levels, and even patterns of brain activity. And if you're like me, someone who's spent an unholy amount of time gaming, then the music stops being something you just listen to. It becomes tied to excitement, frustration, fun, and overcoming difficulty. It becomes a part of you and a reminder of everything you love to do, and it's why those experiences stay with you. So by the time you hear the music again years later, it's not the song that you're remembering. You're remembering what it's like to be there. is not remembering the moment, but remembering your participation in that moment. The magic that you made happen, and the magic that only existed because you were the one playing. We don't remember video games just because it sounds good. We remember it because it was like a good friend, always cheering us on in the background. I'm Either Shadow Man, and this video was a pleasure to make. And as I always say, keep gaming.